So today I figured to do a little bit of a different video about how I made skateboard zines. For about 10 years, I did a zine called Typical Culture. So we're going to talk about how I made those zines. I'm not going to go into too much detail, kind of show you some of the zines that I made. I basically broke it down to 6 simple steps. Not really simple, but like blanket ways to sort of talk about this. And if you guys enjoyed this video and want to know more about zines, I'll definitely make another video that's more detailed. Maybe I can make a video that's like the whole process from like beginning to end, actually filming it, getting the content, everything like that. This is going to be more of a breakdown of how to make your own zine. One of the first things I feel like we should talk about is an introduction of what is a zine, what quantifies a zine. It's basically just self-published work. That's really what it all comes down to. You can do it in any type of form. It could be art, it could be texture, it could be photos of skateboarding. In this case, that's what we're talking about. But there really is no boundaries to making a zine. It's just like publication in a tangible form. And there can be so many different layouts and sizes and different ways to make zines, but this is going to be more of a standard, typical way. Even though zines are normally a self-published thing, you can do them with your friends. That's why I did Typical Culture. It was like with a couple friends that I did it with and had tons of different people contributing. I would just hit up locals. It was a whole different community type of project for me. It wasn't just my self-work, but you can definitely do that as well. That's kind of where I think a lot of zines did originate from, is people just wanting to put their portfolio together or something like that, or even scrapbooks back in the day. That's kind of what they were. That's basically what a zine is. The second thing that I really thought about when making zines is just an idea and a concept around that. So for example, issue 13 of Typical Culture, me and a bunch of friends were going to New York, and I figured what better thing to do with all the content that we got in New York than make a zine in a video. I actually made a video from it. My friend took a bunch of pictures, and then I had some of my buddies write stories, and basically I put together a whole zine. And that's what's really cool, is I can go back and look at this. My friends can go back and look at this and just have the pictures all in one place. And then like we have words to go with it. We have like the kind of like the B-roll, as you would say, all in one place. So that's pretty cool. Basically, that's all you really need is some sort of concept. For example, if you're going on a trip, that's what this issue was. But there was other issues where basically Typical Culture's whole premise was just to get the community involved. So different photographers, skaters, anybody that was just out there trying to skate and collect content. We obviously weren't like a super big publication, but the idea was just like contributed based zine, along with a couple of people that were me, Austin, a couple other different people that were locals trying to get content as well. But that was kind of the idea, was just to like highlight different local artists, musicians as well. That's what it really comes down to. The second thing you really need is just an idea. But if you don't have like a road trip, for example, you can just get your friends together and all like say, hey, we're gonna have 2 months to go shoot everything, and we're gonna make a zine in that month. You can even make a zine based off a month, for example. You know, it could be August 2022. Just a cool way to document that point in time. That's all you really do need, is just an idea. And that kind of brings me to my third point, which is basically just gathering the content creation. Like I said, it could be contributor based, or it could be you individually doing the art. It could be drawing, taking photos. In this case, you could be taking photos on your iPhone. When you're thinking about creating the content, everything that goes along with that, you can think about how you want it to look in the zine. So I think that's the difference between creating content for like just general anything and creating content for a zine. If you know it's for a zine and you have a theme to it, you can kind of try to curate that. So when you're looking through the zine, it has some sort of, you know, story throughout it. Even shooting photos vertically versus shooting landscape, just keeping all these different things in line. Or if you're doing a wider zine, shooting in that particular format. So like during the content creation process, you really want to think about what's going in the zine. The idea being you could kind of like form a story. So when you're flipping through the zine, it tells a little bit of a story, and it doesn't have to have that. But a lot of times I do enjoy zines that have that. And if you can just think of that in your head, and even if you're collecting content from other skaters and your friends, you can sort of still lay it out where it does have some sort of flow and different sections. Like for example, we would do check-ins with local skaters. That was just like a little section we would block off. So we knew when we were creating the content, we had to get at least that section for every issue that we're collecting. Again, this was kind of like an ongoing zine that we did. It wasn't just a one-off, but you can still think of it that way. Like set up, okay, what do I want on these pages? What is it gonna look like? And then when you're going to collect the content, you already know exactly what you need to go and get. Which and then kind of leads into the fourth point, which is the layout and design process, which I love, which can be sometimes hard if you're not into computers, but you don't necessarily need a computer for this. We're not going to go too into detail about how to do that, but essentially you can use InDesign on a computer, or you can literally just have a piece of paper, fold it out, and you just put two together and then fold it like so, and then you already have like the idea of what a zine layout could be. But my point being is when it comes to this type of thing, you could almost like print out your photos, tape them on the paper, for example. You could scan them or copy them and then fold them and put them together. So like there's so many different ways to go about this. I personally went the InDesign route just because it was so much easier for me, because a lot of the photos were already on the computer. And that's a whole nother process, another beast trying to learn that. We'll break that down maybe in another video. We won't go too much into that. But the layout design is really fun because you can choose to just really blow photos up for textures and scale other photos down, so you can just add different contrast and again really kind of develop the story even on the page itself. The easiest way in America is probably if you just use like 8.5 by 11, I think it's the A4 paper size, and you just fold it. That's the easiest way to do it. If you're at home, you can literally copy that both sides like it's saying and staple it. That is like the easiest way to kind of get your foot wet with designing and laying it out. Like I said, I will make a more detailed video if you guys are interested. I kind of just wanted to like show some of these zines and talk through some of the process. Now when it comes to printing, it really does, it's up to you. Like if you have the budget to go to Kinko's and get it done, or if you want to do it at home, that's fine. But I have noticed even using like mom and pop stop and stuff like that, even the local shops, I've always tried to support those local shops. A lot of the times Kinko is cheaper. I think it's just because they have the printers and they're able to really produce small quantities without having a big setup fee maybe. I'm not really sure why, but you can also just print at home. Or if you have a printer at your work, you know, after work hours, ask for you know, a little bonus, little side perk at work. But really when it comes down to printing, you can send it off somewhere, which I have done before, and I've also printed it myself. Eventually I ended up sending it off places because I just liked having it done and printed professionally, and then I ended up binding it myself. So you could even just have them print all the pages double-sided. They'll put in one blank page in between each issue, and then when you get it, you can actually fold it over, bind it, and just add some staples, which is really easy. On the last issue of Typical Culture, we actually did it in color. On the back, I put the dates, 2009 to 2019. You really have no boundaries when it comes to like making zines. There's so many different ways to do it. Like this zine, for example, with all the pulls. This is such a cool zine that is on such nice paper. Like it's almost like a book. So the last thing that you need to do, basically, the last step that I would do is the distribution process. So whether that's by hand, through social media, going to the skate shop, that's what I normally started, was going to the skate shops, and then eventually going to social media. Ways like that are just a cool way to get your content out there and get the community involved. So I hope you guys enjoy this quick little video, just a little overview, showing you some of the zines that I've made, kind of talking about the process that I go through when I'm making a zine. Like I said, if you want to see a more detailed video, I would love to do that. Kind of just walk through the whole thing from beginning to end. Maybe we can make it a whole series if that's something you guys want to see, kind of behind the scenes, every step of from laying it out to taking the pictures, the settings, all that different stuff. I always figured that'd be cool, but I'm not sure if that's something you're interested in. So yeah, comment below, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already. See you guys in the next one. Mash.